I guess I'm allergic to work. I don't think I'm going to be able to fit the trailer into the driveway. I just don't have enough room.
Could you like kind of be over there where the pine needles are and come in more to like a cut, I guess?
It's really tight on this street, really tight. This damn holly bush. That thing will scratch the crap out of my truck, and I don't want that. Not at all. We're not gonna worry about that right now. The homeowner's not home, and there's a few of his vehicles that are in the way of a potential area where I think I can get it. But once he gets home, we'll move some vehicles around, and we'll try to get this trailer as close as we can to the backyard. Plenty of room once we get back here. Never seen anything this pretty. Yeah, well, you know why they called us. Yeah, the demo looks a little heavy today, so we might get the footers. We don't know. All right, we better get to it, man. We got a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah, man. I think I'm cooked.
So the first thing that we're gonna do, we have to mark the layout of the footprint of this deck. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna take our full width of the deck, which is 20 foot, put it on the placement of the side of the house, and then find square to get our outside corners. Big news, we just got the trailer pulled in. It wasn't pretty, but we got it done. Material's gonna get staged right here. It's turning out to be a good situation. All right, now let's get to work. We are prepping this thing for flashing right now. Simply just clearing out all the hardware. Our next step is we're gonna be adding the flashing, stapling that into that sheeting, and then putting in our 2x10 ledger board, so that way we can start outlining our deck. We got our vinyl flashing up. Now the material is actually coming in as we speak. He's coming in with the rails now. He's gonna set those over there, and we'll be able to keep those out of the way. We'll have plenty of space, so that way we're not feeling too cramped on this job site, which is super nice because the last couple of jobs we've been on have been kind of cramped. So perfect timing. We're gonna be able to get our ledger hung up. We're gonna get our outside band put on, temp support those, and then figure out where our girder needs to be while squaring this bad boy up. Once we figure all that out, then we can start digging our footers and finishing our frame, and hopefully have a very productive day today. I guess I'm allergic to work. So we're not gonna put a ledger up on the front face of this bump out. The reason why is we're gonna be putting a double beam right in front of that wall. And that double beam that's sitting up against the face of that bump out is gonna be supported with double hangers on double joists that run out to the outside of the band. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the outside bands. We're gonna cut them at 12 foot. Then we're gonna temp support those up, and then we're gonna square the outside edges with this ledger board that we have here, and then on the other side as well. So we build these temp supports to support the outside rim when we're temping up our band. Now, pretty much it's just the cut footer and the brace. When you double up with another 2x4, you scissor it onto this bad boy, and then make sure that that double is sitting underneath the band that you're nailing to the side of this 2x4. That way the load is actually sitting on top of that piece of wood versus just bearing all the load on the side. So for our temp supports, drive in a stake into the ground, so that way you're gonna keep this thing from going back and forth or side to side. It needs to come back to you. A little bit more. Right. Keep going right there.
Right there?
Yeah. So we got both sides squared up. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my laser pointer. This is a distance finder, and I'm gonna measure from the inside of this band all the way over to that side and see what that measurement is. I'm gonna get as close as I can to the house where I clear that bump out, so that way I can make sure that where I know we're 100% square, we'll be able to pull that measurement, and then we'll know what this outside face measurement needs to be cut at. So I took a bunch of measurements just because, right? They're all coming out a little bit different. Pretty much what I'm seeing is the average is gonna be 19 feet, 5 inches, and 5/8. So that's what we're gonna cut them at. All right, that's a wrap. Let's get on out of here. We're gonna install the outside of this band up, and we're gonna leave the sides long and then just cut them flush with the outside of the side bands. Now, come and take a look at this. This band right here is a good example of what framers and carpenters have to deal with when they're outside building decks. We're figuring out exactly where all of our nail holes are going to be at, so that way when we are putting up our fascia board, we don't end up hitting one of those nails and screwing up one of those boards. So pretty important predetermined step here that you got to take in order to make sure that the end product works out. So I'm going to cut the end of this tail off. I've already made my scribe here, so I know exactly where to cut. So Antonio's nailing this beam together. We got 9 inches on center, staggered front to back. So this thing's gonna be super secured. We're gonna measure from the inside face of this corner back to the wall. We're gonna do it on both edges. But the reason why we're doing it this way is so that way we can show you there's several different ways that you can frame up a deck. There's not just one. So this is just another way that we wanna show you guys how to get it done. All right, we just got done eating lunch and that was nice, but it's time to get back to work. So what we're gonna do now, since we got the outside band up, we went ahead and squared everything up so we know that where it's sitting right now is exactly where it needs to be. Time to start marking out our footing. Our girder is gonna be 1 foot from the outside of the deck band all the way around. So our first post on the corners are gonna be 1 foot from the front and 1 foot from the side. So we're gonna go ahead and mark these out. We're gonna spray paint them using our jig, and then we're gonna start digging our footers. All right, so we're gonna do some math here. Pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm gonna determine the total span that we have between each footing. And the way we do this is we pretty much take the total span from the outside of that footer to the outside of this footer, and then we subtract the total width of each footer. So since we're gonna have 4 footing and each footing is 16 inches wide, it's gonna be 16 inches times 4. That's a total of 64 inches. So now what I do is I take the total span from outside footer to the other outside footer, and then I subtract 64 inches from that total span. And then that total is gonna leave me with the number that I need to divide by 3 sections. Now the reason why I say 3 not 4, because we have 4 footers. That means we're gonna have 3 total spans between those four footers. So we're gonna figure that out, and then we're gonna start marking these things out and digging them. So this is what we use as a template for our footing placement. Our post is gonna be on the center of that footer every time. So if you're looking for a helpful hint, making sure your post placement is right, this is what you want to make. Super simple, but very effective. All right, so I'm gonna show you a very cool trick to hang girders. these things can get heavy. You know, it's a double 2x10, sometimes it's a triple 2x10. It just depends on you know, the span, the load, all that stuff. So pretty much what we're doing is we're gonna suspend these things using, it's just a temp brace, right? I'm gonna screw it into the band here, and then we're gonna send screws in this way, and we're gonna be putting our girder this way, and it's gonna hold that girder in place. So I'm gonna pre-drill my holes for my screws. I'm gonna set my screws to the depth that they are, where it's not penetrating the outside edge of that brace. And then once we get that board up there, we're gonna send in these screws into that girder, and then it should hold it in place. So we have where our beam's gonna be marked out right here. We're gonna make sure that this piece that I'm putting in is plumb, because if this isn't plumb, then the girder's not gonna be plumb. So we're gonna hang up this girder, but what we're gonna do after we get it temp supported there and over there, we're gonna get some temp bracing in the middle, so that way this thing doesn't end up sagging. We're gonna plan on getting the girder installed today, and then hanging our 6x6 posts over the footing, and then pour that concrete. So that way when we come tomorrow, before we put on our joist, everything will be nice and cured, ready for a load. All right, we got our girder up. We got our temp bracing in. Time to cut some 6x6s, attach those to the girder, suspend them in the footing hole, and then the last thing that we're gonna do for the end of the day is get these footers filled up with some concrete. And that's great, because we're getting a little tired. So we're gonna clean up now and return back tomorrow to finish up the framing and hopefully be able to get those stairs started. Who knows? We're gonna decide what we're gonna do tomorrow once we get here, see how we feel, see what we can knock out.